And you know what? When it comes to Browns news, it's not news till he says it's Browns news. He's Chris Easterling from the Akron Beacon Journal, and he is on the Make It Right, Call Kyle Wright hotline. Hi, Chris. How are you?
Not too bad, fellas. How you guys doing?
We are doing good. I got to tell you, over this past week, we all knew that the offensive line was going to look a little bit different, but Wyatt Teller says goodbye on Instagram. Joel Bitonio gets a little bit more time to figure out what's going on. Your thoughts on offensive line, and what do you think Bitonio is going to do?
I second one first. I lean toward he retires. When he sort of choked up there the day after the season, kind of talking about how he wanted to be remembered. Joel's a gregarious guy. He doesn't, typically let the whole emotions out. And that moment there just sort of told me that, yeah, this might be time. It might be time for him to retire. Now, I'd love to see Joel back for another year because they need somebody back there on that offensive line because, to count on DeJuan Jones, who's the only returning starter, quote unquote, would be the only returning starter, quote unquote, it's fool's errand at this point. He hasn't proven he can play a full season. So now I'm curious to see what they do. How do they attack it in the free agency market? Where do they look interior there and then say, look, we got 2 of the first 39 picks. Let's use 2 of those on offensive tackles. It's curious how I'm going to be fascinated to see how they do it, but that's how I would probably attack it is like try to get something in the interior, re-sign Tevin Jenkins, what have you, but then get my tackles in the draft.
There's going to be some available, Chris, as you know, especially in free agency. In terms of let's talk about the interior of that line, though. What's Whippler's status? I remember he had a knee injury, if I'm not mistaken, in the season finale, right? So is there any update on him? Because that's a guy that I think they're pretty high on still.
It's funny, Tom. That's something I haven't heard an update, and it's something I definitely have on my list of things to find out next week when Andrew and Todd, specifically Andrew, speak at the Combine because – he got carted off after the game, but I think and everything else that was sort of happening, Kevin's future, and
right, kind of lost in the shuffle.
He kind of got lost in the shuffle, and then you don't really ask at the the introductory press conference, so it's something to definitely. It's why I think they addressed all 3 interior positions, either free agency or 2 in free agency, 1 in the draft. However, but they definitely need to do something about it.
Yeah. So then you can also talk about. Zach Zinter. We've seen some flashes here and there, right? Is that a guy? And you mentioned Jenkins as well. Are those 2 guys that potentially could slide into those guard spots?
I think Jenkins is definitely a possibility. He's a free agent technically, but I think you could entice him back by saying we there's a starting position for you, there's a leadership position for you as a veteran in that room. You've watched him like I have, Tom. Zach's a nice kid.
Yeah.
And we'll just kind of leave it at that.
Okay.
It's like when everybody tells me I have a nice personality. I know what you're saying.
All right, let's play the quarterback game. What do you think this quarterback situation is going to look like heading into camp? Would you draft somebody? You want to bring somebody in a free agency? You're going to make a trade? Do you want to feel good about Shedeur Sanders? Is Deshaun Watson going to be the starting quarterback?
All of the above,
could I come up with more scenarios for you? Help me understand what you think they're thinking at quarterback.
I think they're thinking anything is on the table. I really do. I think they're going into the quote unquote player acquisition period with open-minded. I think you have to examine every option, which is what he said. Kick to the tires. I'm not necessarily sold on the Malik Willis. Not that they couldn't figure a way to afford it, but I'm just curious he shares an agent with Deshaun Watson. What's the price going to be? And quite frankly, what are you getting in Malik Willis? I mean, he's got fewer starts than Shedeur Sanders. Now, he's looked good in those starts, some of those starts. But at the same time, I mean, we've seen it before. I mean, we've seen it with the Packers backup, have we not?
Right.
Matt Flynn, what happened when, he got on the market, got a big contract, and I don't think he ever started in Seattle. But, kick the tires maybe on San Francisco with Mac Jones and, see, is he the next reclamation project you can get with, coming to Cleveland, working with Todd? And then, I think they draft somebody if they don't get somebody in the free agent or trade market, because I think I don't think you wait until you absolutely know that you have you can't stop until you absolutely know you have a quarterback. And they don't absolutely know they have a quarterback. So, I think they'll draft somebody, but at the end of the day, I mean, until I see who those other quarterbacks are, I mean, I guess you got to go with Shedeur, because it's the long-term play. I mean, let's continue to develop him and see what we have, especially if you can't find an answer in either free agency, trade, or draft. Just like, play this out and let's just kick the can to 27.
I'm sure you've already started on some of your mock drafts. I would suspect, and next week you'll be in Indianapolis and have a chance to look at these guys up close and personal. I think from a local standpoint, Chris, I think a fascinating conversation. I'm sure you're looking into this a little bit, and I'm sure the Browns are going to have to kick the tires at some point. Caleb Downs is a fascinating guy who could be available at number 6 for the Browns. Now, I know it's not necessarily a position of need by any means. We've talked about wide receivers, and as you mentioned, the necessity to find a right or a left tackle there, either at 6 or 24. But in terms of Downs, Chris, do you feel like the Browns really need to kind of figure out if he is a generational player like some people are branding him? Is that something that they have to really seriously consider at 6?
I think I think kick the tires is the right word on that. The phrase to use it. I think you have to really examine it. You definitely do, because, like you say, I think he's the best player in the draft. I don't know what the ceiling is. I mean, there may be no ceiling, but I think the floor is the highest of anybody in this whole draft. I think what you're going to get is at best a borderline, maybe not even borderline Pro Bowl player who has a chance to be, one of those game-changing type of safeties you see with Kyle Hamilton and
Ed Reed, Polamalu, those kind of guys, right?
Yeah, I would love to. But I mean, Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu. If it's that, then it's like, I mean, if you can see crystal ball and you say, yeah, it's going to be Ed Reed or Troy Polamalu, it's like, send the card up. We'll deal with it. But at the same time, the tackle need is so massive, no pun intended, that I think if the tackle is there and if Downs is there, you see. Honestly, I think that's where you get what other teams are interested in Downs, and see if maybe you can shop and drop back, make a deal.
Excuse me, with us getting a head coach from Baltimore and an offensive line coach who returns from Cleveland to Baltimore, now back to Cleveland. Do you think they've got a shot at Tyler Linderbaum, the center, the free agent center, who I think would be like, I mean, if they did that, you want to talk about starting off the free agency period in the right way. That's the guy they got to go to. Now, Eric DeCosta in Baltimore said their goal is they strongly hope to have him back. He said that, I think he may have even said that early. He said it on the Inner Circle podcast just recently. So, I mean, Baltimore wants him back. Man, I would love to see him play in Cleveland. And you got to believe the Giants are in play for him.
Yeah, I mean, the phrase of the day is kick the tires. I mean, I think you have to you do, but what's the price tag going to be? Because I think that's one that if he doesn't re-sign with Baltimore, and that's always an option. If he gets out in the true open market what's the bidding going to be? Where's that contract going to end
18,
up?
19, 20 million probably, right?
Yeah. I mean, for a center who, important position and everything, and he is obviously one of the elites at that position, but you have so many needs to tie up so much money at that position. I mean, it's sort of you may do with Ethan Postage the last 4 years.
True.
And he's been, when healthy, he is a very solid, dependable center. I mean, he was one of the least of their problems, when he was healthy. So I think you do look into it, but I mean, the price would have to be just right to make it happen.
Yeah. Chris, I see the Browns have now officially named their coordinators under Todd Monken, particularly with the Rutenberg situation. And I know, obviously, this got a little more traction just because of Schwartz's departure and all the mess that came with that. But I just wanted to get your general thoughts on the Rutenberg hire and what you think he can do with this defense, which has already shown it can be one of the elites in the NFL.
I kind of like the hire.
Okay.
The more I read about him, the more I see from people, the people have worked with him. I mean, reading something about, reading like what Quincy Williams said about him in not Seattle, but New York with the Jets. I mean, he credits him for his development. Excuse me, sorry about that. He comes from an offshoot of the same tree.
Right.
I mean, it all goes back to what Greg Williams and I can't remember the other guy's name, developed in Tennessee in the late 90s, early 2000s, that Jim then took over. And, Jim sort of taken it one way, but, he's worked with Saleh. He run, the Atlanta Falcons ran as much more cover one than even the Browns did. So the coverage part of it, which was always sort of a complaint with, the difference between how Saleh does it and Schwartz does it, that answers sort of that question. I just think it's a right fit. Plus, it's a younger guy. I mean, not that I think age has to factor majorly in this, but he's a young guy. He seems energetic. He seems like he can connect with players. Mm-hmm. Look, you have Myles, Garrett, Denzel Ward, Carson Schlesinger, Mason Graham, all these guys. This guy feels like I feel like you can find somebody, and they found somebody who can figure out a way to put those guys in positions to make big plays, and we'll see.
Chris, is there a guy on this roster you think they might be willing to trade to get better?
Anybody want a used quarterback? Early 30s.
Speaking of kicking the tires. Somebody who's currently on the roster that might be I don't know. Maybe find somebody that wants Jerry Jeudy. I don't know.
I mean, if somebody wants Jerry Jeudy, yeah, I bet you they'd be willing to listen. I mean, they are where they. I mean,
they don't have a lot of trade assets. Let's be quite honest.
I feel exactly. Like, but
they have one, and I just wonder.
Yeah.
I just wonder if they're willing to make that trade. I mean, they clearly weren't last year when he asked to be traded. I just wonder if they got the right asking price, if they would trade Myles Garrett. I don't think they would. To be fair, I'm not saying
no.
That.
Yeah, I'm not trying to put. I feel like for them to make some kind of major move, if they wanted to, a trade would have to be part of that scenario.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the thing is a trade. The big name comes in either free agency. The big name comes in March. By trade, I think more so than by free agency.
That's fair. I agree.
All right, I'll buy that too.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you, Chris. As always, we're reading you every day in the Akron Beacon Journal, and we appreciate your time. Thanks, man.
Hey, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Chris Easterling on the Make